What's going on, Falcons fans? Logan here. Welcome back to Rise Up Rundown, and if you're new here, welcome. I feel as a Falcons content creator on YouTube, I really need to make it clear on what I think about all of our players and coaches heading into the 2020 season, and also give up my takes on what I think their goal should be for this season, and what I think is going to happen for the team this season, and all that fun stuff. And what better way to do that than to go over a full preview on the 2020 Atlanta Falcons. It's exactly like we did last year. I'm going to give up my takes on all of the players, and this time I'm going to go over my takes on the coaches, and then I'll give out my takes on what I think the Falcons' goals should be this year. Are they ready to compete for a Super Bowl? All that fun stuff. And I hope you enjoy, and I will talk to you guys about the Falcons starting right now. Alright, so in order to begin a full preview on the 2020 Atlanta Falcons, we have to talk about their head coach. Everyone knows having a good head coach is very crucial in the NFL. If you don't have a good head coach, you really are not going anywhere. Who is the Falcons head coach entering the 2020 season? Somehow, someway, it's still Dan Quinn. I don't know how in the world this guy kept his job after what happened last year. I guess I'll give him credit because in the final 8 weeks of the 2019 season, they did win 6 of their last 8 games, and they finished 7-9 and second place in the NFC South. But we cannot ignore the fact that they started the season 1-7, dead last in the NFC South. The team was just dead. There was no chemistry. There was no energy. They were soft. And it seemed like Dan Quinn really was doing nothing about it. I don't really know how Dan Quinn kept his job. It seemed like week after week, there were always reports saying, yep, Dan Quinn is going to get fired after this game. Yep, Dan Quinn's for sure going to get fired after this game. But no, he somehow is still the head coach for the 2020 season. We know why, because the players, the reason they rallied at the end of the season is because they want to keep Dan Quinn here. They want to fight for his job, and they see something in him. So I guess you got to give Dan Quinn credit there. But what does he do that's really well? He doesn't specialize in offense. He proved that he really just cannot specialize on defense. He was brought here to bring in an elite defense for the Atlanta Falcons since 2015, and we still have yet to see the defense reach its standard that Dan Quinn promises. Fast and physical, we have not really seen that yet, Dan Quinn. Now, I will say the offseason, there are a lot of changes on the roster, finally. And you got to give Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff some credit on that one. Maybe Dan Quinn realizes, yeah, this is do or die for me. I got to step up or I'm out of here. The players fought to keep my job here for a good reason. Let's prove why they kept me here. I hope that's what Dan Quinn's mentality is, or, something on the lines of that. He knows this is a big year for him. I personally am not a big believer in him. I got to see him actually succeed to believe he will succeed. I can't really hear words from him like, oh yeah, we're going to do good, we're going to do this and that. I'm tired of words, Dan Quinn. You got to do your job. You have done virtually nothing, really, for the Falcons since 2015. You can maybe say he led them to a Super Bowl, but at the same time, he's working with Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan. I think that was kind of the reason they went to the Super Bowl. What does Dan Quinn do really well? He didn't fix the defense. He didn't fix the offense. I guess he tried to get a good locker room energy, but even still, in the beginning of last year, that seemed like it was dead. I just don't really know what Dan Quinn does well. He's got a lot to prove in 2020, but let's all root for him to get things done, though, instead of bash him. But that's just my criticism on Dan Quinn. I hope he can get things figured out this year. But that is what I'm going to say about the head coach. Now we have to go into the offense. Of course, you cannot have an offense without an offensive coordinator. Who is their offensive coordinator this year? Dirk Koetter. Somehow, he kept his job after what happened last year. Simply put, Dirk Koetter was just not a good offensive play caller. He had boring play calls. He was terrible at running the ball. And he is really stubborn to change anything, to be honest. He tries to keep doing what doesn't work, but he hopes this time it will. Like, he needs to step up, simply put. I had a lot of optimism in Dirk Koetter, too, last year. I thought he was going to be really good because he worked with Matt Ryan. He was able to make Jameis Winston have, like, an elite offense. Well, whenever Jameis Winston could get going. But I thought he had a lot of potential. He just, out of the clear blue, dropped off. I don't really know where that came from, but he's got to step up or he's out. But now for a more optimistic look on the offense, we're going to go over the players on the offense. Because, to no surprise, this Falcons offensive roster is really good. Starting with the quarterback, Matt Ryan. Of course, you have a Super Bowl window if your quarterback is Matt Ryan. He is still in his prime, man. He has a quick release. He's a good decision maker, and I think he has one of the more accurate arms in the league, especially on the deep pass. Like, he has accurate throws. He's not the most mobile, but he can move faster than, say, Tom Brady. It's not like he's that slow, but you would prefer that Matt Ryan just stands in the pocket and delivers a good pass to one of his receivers. And honestly, he can take hits. Like, Matt Ryan, I mean, fingers crossed, but he doesn't really get injured much. Last year was like the first time he got injured in like a long time. He can take a lot of hits, man. He's just a good quarterback, and you cannot have him get injured because the backup quarterback situation is not the best. Matt Schaub, he never really was a good quarterback, to be honest with you. He's just kind of there simply because they need a backup quarterback. I will say, Falcons Nation has somehow found a way to overhype him just a little bit. Some people kind of say, oh, well, look at what he did in the Seahawks game last year. Boy, I need to see a lot more from him than what he did in just one game. Really? Just because he did good in one game doesn't mean he's the next Nick Foles. So let's calm down about Matt Schaub. He still has a lot of issues to fix. And then the other quarterback, Benkert, he's interesting, but he probably won't play much. I maybe would put him as the second string quarterback instead of Matt Schaub, to be honest with you, because first off, he's young, and second, he's a little mobile. Is he going to be a franchise quarterback? No, but I mean, he might be a better backup than Matt Schaub, but that's just my opinion. Point is, you cannot lose Matt Ryan or your offense is done for. But let's move on to the running back situation, which is really interesting, and I think it's pretty solid. And the big pickup over the offseason, we have signed Todd Gurley to a one-year deal. Some people think he's out of it. The arthritis injury is totally going to stop him from being good. And though I don't think he's ever going to be the 2017 and 2018 MVP candidate Todd Gurley ever again, I still think he can play. You do realize, even with the arthritis injury, he had a solid 2019 season with 223 attempts, 857 yards, and 12 touchdowns. That's pretty good for someone who had an arthritis injury bothering him. I think he can still play. Plus, he's motivated to come back home to Georgia. The fans and the team really wants to work with him. He's really a good guy to be around. I think he has good locker room energy. I think Todd Gurley is going to work out fine here in Atlanta. The scary thing is that he's working with Dirk Koetter, who does not know how to run the ball. But hopefully Todd Gurley is a superstar to just ignore Dirk Cutter's flaws with the running game. But after that, you got Ito Smith. I am getting a little lower on him now. He's shifty and quick, but first off, he's kind of injury prone. And second, he's not the strongest back. I think you could do a little better in Ito Smith. Quadree Ollison definitely had a disappointing rookie season, but he could bounce back here. He's a strong, powerful runner. He's kind of that running back that you would use to just kind of punch it in for the touchdown or the first down even. He's just kind of like that running back that runs you over. But that's just Quadree Ollison for you. Hopefully he comes back. Brian Hill, a lot of Falcons fans really like him. I like him too. I think he's pretty good, but I don't think he's going to necessarily, like, repeat what he did simply because he's a running back. Running backs, there's a lot of running backs that kind of do well one year and they kind of out of nowhere disappoint the next. It's just kind of how the game is, I guess. But Brian Hill, he could be a good, like, return specialist maybe, but running back, I don't know if I'd have him as, like, my second or third string running back is all I'm saying. And then Mikey Daniel, whoever that is, to be honest with you, probably won't make the team. But we're going to go on to the most exciting part of this offense, of course, the wide receivers. We have Julio Jones. Then we move on to Calvin Ridley. In my opinion, he is the best wide receiver number 2 in the league. He has elite route running. He has good hands. He has a great mentality to get better. You can tell he just wants to be good. And his contested catch rate was a lot higher than I thought it was going to be. It's like a 67.7% catch rate, I think. So he definitely improved his hands. Now, my only problem with Calvin Ridley that Falcons fans seem to disagree on me with, but I'm going to stick to my opinion that Calvin Ridley doesn't necessarily have a fear factor, though. Like, when Calvin Ridley was out, but Julio Jones was in, you weren't really all that worried about it. You were pretty confident that the Falcons were going to win simply because Julio Jones was probably going to win you the game, or I don't know, something like that. But if Julio Jones was out and Calvin Ridley was in, you never really had full confidence the Falcons were going to win. I don't think teams are just scared about Calvin Ridley entering the game. They're just kind of like, okay, let's figure out how to stop him. But they're not like, oh crap, he's going to shred our secondary. You know, that's what I think about Calvin Ridley. I don't think he's necessarily a fear factor for the offense, but in the future he could be. I think he's really working towards that, and I do love Calvin Ridley. He's the best wide receiver number 2, but in my opinion, I don't think he's a number 1 wide receiver yet. Keep an eye on Laquon Treadwell. He has had an NFL career that's been very disappointing to say the least, but he could light it up with a better quarterback and a better offense instead of what he had with Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Not that their offense was terrible, but the Falcons' offense, in my opinion, is better, so Laquon Treadwell could do well here. Russell Gage, interesting, but probably won't do much. And then the rest of the receivers after that are not very good, though, like Christian Blake, Olamide Zaccheaus. You know, I don't really know what they're going to do for us. So you got to make sure Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Laquon Treadwell, maybe Russell Gage, if he can step up, you got to make sure they stay in the game. The tight end situation is really good. We were all like, oh crap, don't let go of Austin Hooper. Well, already it seems like it's okay to let go of Austin Hooper because we picked up Hayden Hurst. I love Hayden Hurst. He's almost a do-it-all tight end. He's athletic, good hands, he's strong, quick. He's clearly wanting to play for the Atlanta Falcons. And the best part is that Matt Ryan loves throwing to tight ends. I think Hayden Hurst is poised for a freaking breakout season. I love Hayden Hurst. He's already better than Austin Hooper, in my opinion. I'm rooting for him for sure. And then after that, you got Jaeden Graham. I like him. He's a solid player. He's quietly the same thing as Hayden Hurst, just like not better. Like, he is athletic. He's got good hands. He's quick, and he even looks like Hayden Hurst. But I'd rather have Hayden Hurst start over him, of course. But if Hayden Hurst gets injured, I would not complain if Jaeden Graham took the starting spot. Keep an eye on Khari Lee. He did pretty well in the XFL. His NFL career has been pretty bad, but he's working with Matt Ryan, who loves tight ends. So Khari Lee is not out of the picture for being a good tight end. And then after that, you got Luke Stalker. He's never going to be anything good. But moving on to the offensive line, I think this is the most average offensive line you'll ever run into. There's a couple question marks, but there's also some good players. And it starts with Jake Matthews at left tackle. I think he is the most underrated player on the Falcons. I actually made a video talking about that. The link should be in the bio. or the description, I should say, on the most underrated and overrated players heading into 2024, the Atlanta Falcons. But Jake Matthews is so underrated, man. He is a hard worker. He consistently gets better every year. I don't know why Falcons fans love to bash on him when last year, by the way, he only allowed 8 sacks, which was only 1/6 of the total amount of sacks allowed from the team. He only had 7 penalties and a 79.7 Pro Football Focus grade. And he makes a lot of key blocks, man. Check out the game against the Eagles last year where Julio Jones had the game winner. Jake Matthews had a key block. In 2018 against the Washington football team, when Julio Jones got his first touchdown, Jake Matthews made a key block on Josh Norman. He makes a lot of good plays. I don't know why people hate on him. I think he's an excellent player, and he's only going to get better. Now, left guard on the offensive line is the only huge glaring hole on the offense. I just don't know who's going to step in at left guard. James Carpenter isn't any good. Jamin Brown entered concussion protocol, but he's not even any good anyway. And then who do you have after that? John Wetzel? Justin McCray, Sean Harlow, Justin Gooseberry, like who are these people? Even if it's Matt Hennessy, the rookie we picked up from Temple, first off, he's still a rookie, and second, he would be playing a position he's not used to playing. At least in college, he wasn't used to playing guard. So left guard is a big question mark, but then we got center to talk about. We got Alex Mack. He did decline a little bit, but he's still one of the better centers in the league, and he's a good influence. And then we picked up Matt Hennessy in the draft. I loved this pickup. I think this was one of the better steals in the draft. Matt Hennessy was just a total stud in college. He would run people over, and he can learn behind Alex Mack to be one of the better centers in the league. So I think our center situation is set. And then the right guard and right tackle situation, we have the 2 rookies we got from last year's first round pick, or first round of the draft, I should say. We have Chris Lindstrom at right guard. He was solid. He did get injured for most of 2019, but when he got in, he was solid. I guess you can expect him to do better. Same with Kaleb McGary. He didn't get injured, though, but I thought he did pretty solid. I don't really have a whole lot to say for them, though. Simply, we just kind of have to expect that they do better because they're solid players, but they're not perfect, but they should do better. But that's the offense. It's going to be a good one when you have Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst, and an average O-line. Oh, yeah, and then Todd Gurley. Simply, Dirk Koetter's just got to step up, or our offense is just going to be as, bland as it was last year. Even though it wasn't like the worst offense, it still was not as good as it could have been because Dirk Koetter just couldn't get anything going. But hopefully he steps up with the players that he has because these are excellent players. But now we're moving on to the defense. The defense over the years has always been miserable for the Falcons. Every year we say, this is it, we're gonna finally do it, guys, this is it. And it just never ends up being any good. And it's fair to say that you think it's not going to be good this year because the Falcons have never really had a good defense. But I think finally maybe there's some reason to believe in the Falcons defense in 2020. Raheem Morris is the defensive coordinator. He stepped in to be defensive coordinator in the last 8 weeks of the 2019 season after Dan Quinn's just embarrassing results as defensive coordinator for the Falcons. But, man, Raheem Morris really switched it around. In the last 8 weeks of 2019, he changed the defense from near the bottom to the top. And I'm just going to read off these stats. In the last 8 weeks of the season, the team went to finish 6 of their last 8 games. They went from the lowest amount of takeaways, which was 4, to the second most with 16. They were dead last in sacks, and then they went to the top 10. Their scoring efficiency was from dead last to 9th, and their red zone efficiency was from 31st to 6th. And Raheem Morris has a good attitude. I think the team really likes him. The fans really like him. I really have a lot of good expectations for Raheem Morris. He totally can change the game. I think he should have been defensive coordinator a long time ago, but here he is. Hopefully our defense can step up, and here are the players he's going to work with. Let's start with the defensive line, starting with Grady Jarrett. We know the story. He's really good. We don't really need to go into depth because he's just going to keep getting better, and the team seems to really look up to him. Then we drafted Marlon Davidson. He is a total beast. He bulldozes his opponents. He has a nasty mentality. Now, for some reason, my gut is telling me he's not going to get it figured out right away simply because he's a rookie. But I think later on, he could get things figured out, and he's going to be really good in the future. I really love this player. Then Tyeler Davison, he's a good player. He's not much of a pass rusher, but he is a good run blocker. Literally the same thing with Allen Bailey. He's a good run blocker, but not much of a pass rusher. Now, he is getting up there in age, but he's a solid player. Deidre Sanat probably won't do much for us, though. I don't really have anything to say about him. But on the edge, let's talk about the player that I really want to talk about, Dante Fowler Jr. I loved this signing. I think every Falcons fan loved this signing. He had an up and down NFL career, but last year he totally broke out, and I expect him to repeat his best season he had last year and maybe do even better because he's working with a team he wants to be with. He wants to work for Dan Quinn. You would expect that if he wants to work for the team, he wants to do good, and the team loves working with him. I think he's got good energy, and he's just a talented player overall. And he's not that far away from his hometown, kind of. Like, he played at Florida. Georgia's not that far away, right? I don't really know if that's saying much, but I think Dante Fowler is going to do really good. Then we got Takk McKinley. I've had enough of this guy. I don't think this guy's going to do any good. If you believe in this guy, that's fine. You need to give me some belief for this guy because I don't see it. I think this guy is just done for. Get off Twitter, please. You trash talk way too much. Why? Because you don't do anything on the field. Please do something for us. You're a talented player. It's the thing. Like, Takk McKinley is so freaking talented, but he does not use it. I was so high on him when the Falcons picked him up, but he just has done nothing for us. Please just step up, man. Please. And then the last two players on the defensive line, Falcons fans seem to have given up on John Kaminsky, but he could be a sleeper pass rusher. Dan Quinn seems to quietly praise him a lot, or at least sometimes. He could be really good, but we'll just see what happens with him. I don't really have a whole lot to say because he doesn't really play much, so I don't really know what to make of him. But yeah, he could be solid. And then Charles Harris. He is definitely a bust so far from the Miami Dolphins. Maybe he does good here. Maybe he switches his career around, but I doubt it. I doubt he's even going to play much. But that's the defensive line. I know that sounded unoptimistic, but I promise I think this pass rush is going to be really good with Grady Jarrett, Marlon Davidson, Dante Fowler, and Raheem Morris could make this pass rush really good as well. Now let's go to the linebackers. Deion Jones is a good player. We all know that. Deone Buccannon, he is an awesome player. Now, he can play both linebacker or safety. Some could argue he's more of a linebacker. Some could say he's more of a safety. Either way, I think that's a steal for us to have someone that can do both. Deone Buccannon has great awareness. He's an awesome tackler. He's a smart player. And he is really quick, and he can blitz. I don't know if Dan Quinn's wanting to blitz more this year, but he can blitz. Deone Buccannon is really freaking good at that, and I really love this pickup. Foye Oluokun, don't give up on him just yet. Falcons fans don't seem to have a lot of hope in him, but I think he still has potential because when he's on the field, he's pretty solid. Like, he's a strong physical player. He's got good instincts. He probably won't be a superstar, but I think he's usually pretty solid when he's out there. So don't give up on Foye just yet. Mykal Walker, I'm still having a little bit of trouble pronouncing his name there. But I thought he was a bit of a reach for a 4th-round pick. He also played at a small school, so that's why I was a little lower on him. But he's been pretty sharp over the offseason, I guess. He's a physical player. He tackles well. He has a good mentality. Um, he has potential, but I don't really think he's going to do a whole lot. And then Edmond Robinson from the XFL, keep an eye on him. He did really good in the XFL. He was a big impact for his team, and that's why his team, I forgot what team he was on in the XFL, but his team went undefeated. And he did play a little bit in the NFL. He was all right, but keep an eye on him. And then Leroy Reynolds is not going to be anything special. And then the last position on this team is the secondary. Now, the secondary, you all know I've been very low on. I think the secondary is an issue. There's some potential, but at the same time, I just think there's a lot of question marks as well. Let's start with the corner position. Isaiah Oliver, we get it. He has potential. He showed flashes at times, but he needs to step up. He just gets embarrassed on the field game after game. He'll do some good things here and there, but here and there is not going to be good enough, my man. You need to step up. Kendall Sheffield, he also showed flashes, and I think he could do pretty good this year. And yeah, he just needs to show a little more. AJ Terrell, I might have been wrong on this guy. When the Falcons first drafted him, I just thought, he's a good player, but I don't know if he's going to be like the best player available for us. I thought we should have got Trevon Diggs or something, but I made a video about him last Tuesday. If you haven't watched my Could AJ Terrell Surprise NFL Fans in 2020, go check it out. AJ Terrell has looked really good, but not just in training camp. He's just a good player. He has good coverage. He's very physical. He is playing for his hometown. That, of course, motivates him. The only thing I need to say, though, is that, well, he's a rookie. We can't really expect a rookie to just break out right away. So that still is a concern. DeMonte KZ, I don't know if he's going to play nickel corner or if he's going to move back to safety. I don't really know what they're going to do with him. But he's a good athlete. He is like the interception king. He had a bit of a down year last year. He can bounce back this year for sure. I do like myself DeMonte KZ. Darqueze Dennard, in my opinion, I think he's just, for depth. I don't think he's actually going to do much. He's a solid veteran, but I don't think he's going to do a whole lot. I think they would want Isaiah Oliver, Kendall Sheffield, and AJ Terrell to develop. And then after that, the rest of the players suck. Jordan Miller, Bleedy Ray Wilson, Josh Hawkins, the rest of them suck. There's just a lot of corners that we don't really know we don't know what's going to happen there. The safeties is a better conversation. Ricardo Allen, I've made my point clear on him if you've watched my channel. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. He has good coverage and he's a smart player. He studies film, so I love and respect that he does that. But my only criticisms on him is that he does kind of let up some big plays. I talk about him in my most underrated and overrated players heading into 2020 for the Falcons. Go check that out. But he does let up some big plays, and he's injury prone. He's a good player. I would have him over most safeties, but I don't think he's as good as everyone makes him out to be. Keanu Neal, this is a big year for him. He has to stay healthy or he's out. I love Keanu Neal. I think the fans really love him. He's a hard hitter. I would not mind if they moved him to linebacker, to be honest, but I think he's still going to play safety because he is a hard hitter. Now, everything else outside of that, his coverage is not fantastic. He doesn't really even have the best hands, but the thing that he's really good at, he can light people up. And that's what you love about Keanu Neal, but he's got to stay healthy because he is an impact, but he's just got to stay healthy, simply put. And if he doesn't stay healthy, I hate to say it, but I would kick him out. How can you really trust in someone that's injured back to back to back? But I'm rooting for him. I really want to see him succeed. And then the last player is Jaylinn Hawkins. This was one of my favorite pickups in the draft for the Falcons. He is a freak athlete, a total ball hawk. He always freaking knows where the ball is. He's a mean player. He's not afraid to tackle. He is a rookie, so maybe he can learn behind Ricardo Allen. If Ricardo Allen leaves, I would not mind Jaylon Hawkins taking the spot. So the safety situation is a lot better, but the corner situation is just not good. So the defense, it definitely has potential to suck, but it also has a lot of potential to be good. I think this pass rush could be very good with Grady Jarrett, Marlon Davidson, and Dante Fowler. The linebacker situation is good with Deion Jones, Deone Buccannon, and even Foye Oluokun. The secondary is the only issue, but A.J. Terrell has looked good. The pass rush could help them out. Their defensive coordinator in Raheem Morris clearly proves that he is capable of fixing things, so maybe the secondary steps up. I'm just not expecting that at the moment. Overall, is this roster Super Bowl ready? Absolutely. They basically have most of the players that they had when they went to the Super Bowl not too long ago. Is the goal for the Falcons to win the Super Bowl in 2020? Yes, I would say that is the goal for the Falcons in 2020, is to win the Super Bowl. After all, this is their win now roster. This is the roster that got them to the Super Bowl in the first place not too long ago. So I would say they should have the goal of winning the Super Bowl. I will say, though, I don't think it's the end of the world if they make the playoffs or even the Super Bowl, but just not win the Super Bowl. What I'm saying is, I think it'd be a mistake if the Falcons start to rebuild just because their team didn't win the Super Bowl, even though they still made the playoffs. I think making the playoffs is still a pretty good thing for this Falcons team because they haven't really made the playoffs in a while. It'd be kind of silly if you give up on the team because they made the playoffs. Why would you give up on it, you know? Just give them time. Now, if they don't make the Super Bowl in the year after that, or win it, I should say, then yeah, I would start to rebuild. But this year, their goal should be to win the Super Bowl, but it's not the end of the world if they don't. But that's just my take on the 2020 Atlanta Falcons. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Other than that, I will see you guys with a video this Tuesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Love and appreciate you all for the support. As always, rise up.